Good morning, and also welcome to the new members, Senators Cassidy and Senator Daines. Since this is my first hearing as ranking member of the Interior Appropriations Subcommittee, let me begin by saying how honored I am to serve in this position. The Interior Appropriations Bill, I believe, is an essential tool to protect our nation's rich natural and cultural resources, and it's our way to honor our commitment to American Indians and Alaska Natives. The programs funded by this bill are also incredibly important to New Mexico, and I look forward to using this position to ensure that our remarkable natural resources are protected and managed responsibly. Let me also say how pleased I am to serve under the leadership of my new chairman, Senator Murkowski. There will be times when the senator from Alaska and I will have to disagree, but I know there are also many areas of common interest where we can work together, and we've had some very good, productive visits and look forward to many more. Madam Chairman, I can say without hesitation, I look forward to working with you as we move through the appropriations process this year, and I think it's a very good move that you say that we're going to do a markup. I think that's a healthy part of the appropriations process, and we need to, I think we need to move our bills. I also want to take a moment to thank our immediate past chairman, Senator Jack Reed. Over the last 4 years, Senator Reed worked very hard and in the face of some very difficult political issues to pass Interior Department bills that protected major environmental laws, and he supported critical conservation priorities. He had tremendous success, and I'd like to thank him for his leadership. Turning to the budget request, I'm pleased to welcome Secretary Jewell and Deputy Secretary Connor before the subcommittee. I look forward to working more closely with both of you. You've given us a lot to discuss this morning. This request clearly demonstrates the investments that we can make if Congress and the President work together to end sequestration and revisit the spending limits in the Budget Control Act. Secretary Jewell, you proposed to increase the budget for the Department in fiscal year 2016 by 11%. That's more than $1 billion in new spending for the programs in your department, and it is, I must say, a bold vision. Your budget includes a 17% increase to help the National Park Service to prepare for its 2016 centennial. It also includes new funding to manage other public lands, fund energy development activities, and address climate change. I want to thank you for your commitment to tribal programs and for requesting a large increase for Indian education. That funding is long overdue. I'm also glad to see that your request again proposes to reform the federal wildland firefighting budget by authorizing a new disaster cap adjustment to pay for the costs of the most catastrophic wildfires. And I also want to applaud you and the President for making a strong statement on the Land and Water Conservation Fund. In your request, LWCF just celebrated, as you know, its 50th anniversary, and it's up for reauthorization. So your support has never been more important or more timely. And I especially appreciate the increases for New Mexico priorities, including land acquisition, construction projects, Indian land and water claim settlements, as well as funding to support the newest national parks and monuments in our state. As good as this budget request is, however, it's important to remember it's just a proposal. Until the law is changed, Congress has to live with the spending limits set by the Budget Control Act. That means non-defense discretionary programs like those in this budget request are facing a freeze in fiscal year 2016. A freeze doesn't even cover the costs of basic fixed cost increases, let alone the new investments in this budget. In other words, many of the things in this budget will never happen if we don't end sequestration. So we all need to ask ourselves, how is this Congress going to get serious about supporting important discretionary programs like these? I want to commend Secretary Jewell for giving us an excellent place to start that conversation, and thank you very much for both you and Secretary Connors for being with us. Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary Jewell, I was pleased to see that your budget request includes a 17% increase for the National Park Service to prepare for the centennial. And I'm especially proud that Congress, as you know, in the last Congress authorized 2 new national parks in our state through the Defense Authorization Act. That's the Manhattan Project National Historical Park and the Valles Caldera National Preserve, which was transferred to the Park Service. And first, I'd like to ask about the Valles Caldera. This preserve is an incredible natural and cultural resource, and I was honored to work with other members of the New Mexico delegation to get this done. We fought for this legislation to ensure this special place receives the resources that it needs. That's why I'm concerned that the Park Service budget request proposes reducing funding for the preserve to $2.8 million. That amount is a 17% cut below the level requested last year. Secretary Jewell, this cut just doesn't make sense, especially in the face of other program increases you include in your budget for the National Park Service. Will you commit to working with me to ensure that the Valles Caldera receives the funding it needs to operate successfully in fiscal year 2016 and beyond?
Thanks, Senator. There is, as you point out, a shortfall from what the Forest Service was funding and what is in our budget. We're actively working with the Forest Service right now for additional funds that were lost in the shuffle on the budget, and certainly will continue to work with you on this over the course of the year.
Great, thank you. And we've discussed this, and we will work closely also with the Forest Service and the Forest Service chief on this. As you know, I support responsible energy development on public lands as part of a do-it-all, do-it-right approach to energy policy. And I was proud to sponsor legislation included in the National Defense Authorization Act enacted in December to improve permit processing for BLM oil and gas leases, providing certainty for industry, and it aligned the fee with the actual cost to the BLM for processing applications for permits to drill. Can you tell me where you are with fully implementing the Permit Processing Improvement Act, and share with us how the new resources provided through the bill will improve your ability to responsibly manage energy development? And then, are there aspects of the 2016 budget request that you need us to focus on to implement the improvements we made through the bill?
Well, thank you very much, Senator, for your support of increasing the APD, or application for permits to drill, for the BLM to $9,500. There was a 15% of that was taken away for other programs, and so we have put in our budget make up for that $7.1 million in the discretionary, so we do have the full money available for permitting. That will help us on the permitting side, but it's not enough in and of itself to do the job that we're expected to do. So we have in the budget requested the ability to learn a lesson from the offshore industry, and that is to charge a modest fee to for our onshore oil and gas producers to cover our costs for inspection and enforcement. We have been criticized by the General Accounting Office and our own Inspector General for not inspecting the wells that we have. We're operating over 100, well, we're overseeing over 100,000 wells on public lands, and we don't have the resources to inspect those wells. And that's a challenge from a return to the taxpayer perspective, as well as ensuring that there's no environmental damage. So we do request in here a couple of other things to make our program better. In addition to what you have done in terms of fees for the authorizations for permits to drill, we would very much appreciate fees to cover inspections, particularly for production and a fair return for taxpayers. And also, there are some requests in here to automate our system. As I've gone out, Carlsbad, New Mexico, North Dakota, other states, we're a very paper-oriented system. And as a business person, I know it costs money up front to put in investments for automating and streamlining that program, but there is money in this budget to do that, which will help us respond more quickly to oil and gas companies for the permits that they want. We've also brought the permitting time down because of a lot of hard work and streamlining and piloting. We want to take and roll some of those lessons out, and that's also in this budget.
Great. Well, we look forward to working with you on that. Quick question on payment in lieu of taxes. As you know, this is very important to many of the counties in our western states, and there are many members on this committee that have spoken with me a number of times about PILT. Can we count on you to make mandatory extension of PILT a personal priority And what is the department doing to work with the relevant congressional committees to pass a long-term mandatory extension for the PILT program?
We understand how critically important PILT is to many, many rural counties across the country, particularly in the West. And yes, we are committed to working alongside members on introducing legislation to make it mandatory. I think to have it as uncertain as it is for the counties is very frustrating for them. There are real costs associated with the inability for rural counties to tap into a tax base on public lands. And so we are supportive and look forward to working with you on that.
Thank you very much. Thanks.